In this video, we get to talk to author Tini Howard. We talk about her latest book, Marian Heretic. Also, the newly announced from DC Black Label, Sirens Love Hurts. We talk about a lot of the things that we're watching and reading. And of course, we get to talk about vampires. So stay tuned for all that. Hello, everyone. Broadcasting outside of the city of Vespers, I have a very special guest with us, writer Tini Howard. How are you, Tini?
Hi, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing very well. Very excited to get to talk to you. It's been, I think, a really great few weeks for you. I mean, for comics in general, but I think also for you. So we're gonna
Yeah,
dig into all that. Uh, the first thing, would you like to tell our audience who may not know, it's probably got to be no more than one person who doesn't know who Tini Howard is?
sure. Hi, I'm Tini Howard. I'm a comic book writer. I've been writing comics since 2013 when my script won the Top Cow Talent Hunt. Top Cow, as you guys may or may not know, they're part of Image. They did Witchblade and The Darkness and Magdalena and all those awesome Aphrodite 9, all those like awesome 90s comics that are still running today. I got to write a script for them, and then I had a comic book issue with my name on it, and I took that all over. And since then, I've written for Power Rangers and Rick and Morty and the X-Men. I worked at Marvel for a long time during Krakoa. I wrote Excalibur and Knights of X and Captain Britain and X Corp and Empire and a bunch of stuff in that office. And then I worked at DC for years. I've written Catwoman and Harley Quinn, and I had a new DC book announced at New York Comic Con called Sirens Love Hurts, which we'll talk
Ooh,
about more later.
we will definitely get into that. But the first thing I want to talk about is this little book right here, Marian Heretic. How did this come about? Because once I got into this book, I was like, this is crazy. Like I had read the premise a little bit, but I didn't want to go into it knowing too much. And then our friends are Boom sent us a preview, and I was like, oh, this is wild. So how did this book come about?
So first of all, I was raised Catholic, and I was like, I really was into it. I did all the sacraments. I got confirmed at 16. I did all of that stuff. I come from like a big family of Irish Catholic girls. So uh, this is like, this kind of stuff has always fascinated me and been part of my, cultural language. And
Yeah.
then when I was writing, I'd been writing Excalibur for a while. I'd been writing Catwoman and Harley for a while, and I started to think about like what my next step was going to be, because I really wanted to do a creator-owned book again. And I'd been talking to John Moysen at Boom for years about the right time to do something, and um, I was thinking about sometime in like 2021, I think there's a sketchbook in which I'd written the words Marian Heretic surrounded with like a bunch of doodles, because I was just
Okay.
thinking like, well, that would be like a name. That's like a name, like a name of a character who would defend a Marian heresy. And then kind of once I realized that it was a name, I was like, well, that's kind of what I want this comic to be, is that I miss that kind of 90s vibe of like Spawn, Hellboy, Witchblade, where it's like the name of the character is the person on the cover and you can pick up an issue and they are doing the cool thing inside. Um, I wanted that experience again. I'm reading a ton of amazing comics that are, great, but that whole idea of like the name of the book is the character on the cover that does things is like less popular now. So this was kind of a way for me to like throw back to that kind of 90s bad girl era, but also update it with what I've learned about what I love writing about, writing women, what I have to say about being a woman who grew up Catholic and feels a lot of love and connection to some parts of my religion that I was raised with, and other parts that are completely a rejection of that religion with which that I was raised in. And Marian's, crisis of faith. And also it fuses a lot of what I love about witchcraft and the other kinds of female forward religions that have developed,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
practices.
Now, as of when we're doing this, we've only had one issue of Marion out. Uh, but it definitely sets up a lot, and I don't want to spoil anything too much. But what would you say is the thing that can get the readers most excited about the future of Marian and her mission?
Oh, well, that we've only really seen like the beginning of who Marion is. Like, first of all, a part of the story is revealing to you all who Marion is under the habit, who she is when she's not this symbol or this, you know, this living, this
Yeah,
war in a person, right? Like, who is she underneath that? Who was she before? And how does that affect the choices she makes going forward? So we learn both more about who she is, and that informs us about her decisions going on in the future. There's going to be romance. There's some great, cool fighting and violence and all that fun, delicious comic stuff, because that's part of what we're here for, is to
yeah,
make it look great, right? But then we also get to learn more about the other sisters. We get to learn more about the witches and the Grand Circle and all of that. And really, I mean, we're learning about this world, this alternative world, kind of at the same time as Marion. But we don't know what Marion knows, which is who she was before. And she's a character who I think has a lot of shame, and so there's a lot of like fun struggle in getting a character like that to reveal herself,
yeah.
stuff about herself in believable ways, which I can totally identify with, because there are parts of my lore that I'm not super open about. So I
Sure,
totally get
sure.
that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think part of the book was like you get to see Marian as kind of this weapon for the church. But then you really get to see who Marian is and why she's doing this, right? She's doing this for everyone else, for her sisters. She has her own convictions, and I think that's very cool. Like those were the pages that I was interested in the most. Like, who is Marian when she's not kicking ass and she's not taking down witches? And which, by the way, like Joe is just killing it on the art. Like, how did Joe
Yeah.
get involved with this project?
Oh, I love this story. So I had written up kind of my pitch to John and Boom, and they were interested. We were like at the phase where it was like, okay, we want this. We just got to find the right artist. And
Okay.
Boom works with incredible artists, and they're a very they're a great company. They have a great Rolodex. There's a lot of people I could have chosen from, and I lists, and I was like, maybe this person, people that I love, that I was just like, I wasn't even sure who to ask. And part of it also was that I was like, well, I want someone who's going to love Marion like I do.
Yeah.
So my friend Casey Gilly had written Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer at Boom, and Joe drew that book. And the whole time that Casey was working on that book, Casey and I are really good friends. She was constantly showing me, like, oh my God, look at this awesome page Joe did. And I read the first issue of that book, and I was blown away by the art too. I was just like, wow, like this is really, really good. Um, and so Casey had been like, what about Joe? Like, and I was like, well, one thing is that when Joe drew Buffy, he drew everyone very, real and respectful. And I want that in this book, but I also do want to push the cheesecake a little bit. So like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that Marion can look cheesecake, but also there are lots of women who don't. Like, Marion looked just like the real world. Some women really, really put a lot into their appearance, or are blessed to be born really, really beautiful. And other women don't care about that and don't have to. Like,
Mhm.
it's fine. It's not a requirement. So I Casey was like, "What about Joe?" I was like, "I think he could be really good for it." So Casey put us in touch, and I sent Joe the script, or the first kind of pitch of everything, the like document setup, and I was kind of like, "Here's the thing," and this was something I learned from working when Jonathan Hickman asked me onto the X-Men. I was like, "I'm going to send you this, and if you don't like it, say no. Like, I don't."
Oh,
Like, I want you to be very honest. If you don't like it, say, I don't want to draw this. Like, it's not my thing. Because if like, I would rather hear that now
yeah.
than have you say yes to drawing it. And then 4 issues in, you're like, well, they offered to let me draw Spider-Man, and I want to go do that instead. Like, I
Yeah.
want you to want this like I want it. And that's why Joe is my co-creator as well, because, we're invested in a similar way. And because when I sent Joe that email, he read it, and he sent back the sketch of Marion that we used almost entirely unchanged. Everything about her was so right. The proportions of her big hair, the way that she's, uh, tall and built and kind of that like 90s X-Men girl style
Yeah.
where she's got like the legs and the boobs and she's tall, like big hair.
Hmm.
He just got it, and like the way he drew like images of her like fighting in her habit with like a staff or a sword. The monstrance hadn't been part of the design. This was just him kind of imagining her, and then he also drew images of her like out of her habit with like big hair and like a shawl on, and it was just like very feminine and vulnerable. And it was just felt like all of us, like he really understood who she was entirely from the beginning, and understood that I was like, I want her to be like Batman, like she's iconic, like I want her to
Yeah.
like I want her to be unequivocally, I want her to have a silhouette that doesn't like I want her to be really iconic from the moment we see her, and he like got all of that in one. And so Joe got involved because he was the right person for it. Like once he drew that sketch, I was like, I went back to Boom and I was like, I don't want anyone else, I want Joe.
Yeah. It is very interesting how a habit from a nun can look just as cool flowing in the air as Batman's cape, right? Or Spawn's
Yeah.
cape. Like it's something that really the book, because you open with that. You don't see Marion out of the habit until kind of like midway through the book. Uh,
Hmm.
which, like you mentioned, as somebody that I draw a little bit, so I'm trying to get in Joe's head about how do you create somebody that's going to be wearing a habit most of the time, and then try to imagine everything that's always underneath. So when you get that kind of reveal in the book, it's very interesting. It's very shocking too, because like you mentioned, she's got like really big hair, and so it's very cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. There's I put a lot of thought into that. The habit and her being a nun that wears a habit and is covered up, like the fact that there is an underneath to that, which is one, the source of a certain amount of like cheeky playfulness, and two, is
Yeah,
a very real metaphor about
yeah,
being a woman who covers herself up. Um, there is that push pull of the fun of what's underneath, but also being aware that she's covering herself up for a reason. And I think attraction can have those problematic elements and play along those lines. Like I think that's
for sure.
okay to delve in that. And I think and we play with that a lot. And like I think one thing is that we learn is that at different times in her life, Marian has been very different people under that habit. Not literally, but like um, at very different stages.
Okay.
And we're going to see her at different times in her life. Um, but we're absolutely playing with that, right? Like the design of her big hair under the habit as something that's hard to contain is very deliberate, as is the fact that even when she's in her habit, one little curl springs out from her
Yeah,
cheek. Like there's always something about her that's inherently defiant and that marks her as um, not a she doesn't really blend in with the other nuns, you
mhm.
know.
Well, I can't wait to get to teenage dirtbag Marion. I think that's gonna be a really fun stage in the book.
Honestly, I'm laughing so hard because when you're not, you're you're closer than you think.
Okay, good, good.
Like literally, the page I'm looking at on my screen right now would
That's
make you
so
laugh.
cool.
Uh,
I'm glad all the years of pushing out other knowledge with comic books is paying off in some kind of way. Um,
yeah, you're picking up a button down.
yeah. Now, I would never ask you which one is your favorite cover from the variants, because that's probably like picking your favorite children. But I do want to ask, what outside of Joe's covers, what was the first variant cover that you got to see finalized and ready to kind of go? Do you remember? Because there's a lot of really cool covers for this
I
book.
think it was Jenny's.
So
I
this
think it
one
was
is
the Jenny Frison one. But yeah, I mean, because that one, when it came in the office, everyone at Boom like flipped out. Like, cause they
yeah.
love Jenny. They just booked her to do 100 covers, right?
Oh my god.
So, yeah, when that came out, I think like the marketing people saw it and freaked out and were like, oh my God. And they made stickers of it at New York. I put some on candles. And yeah, like that I think was really iconic. Elizabeth, our editor, refers to that one as Our Lady of Kicking Ass.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I like that.
it's very that art. Like I think that one really blew us all away because it looked so it looked so holy, but was very clearly like a Jenny Prison comic book character, you
Oh,
know?
for
So it
sure.
was like that I think was the first one where I was like, oh yeah, like we're really onto something there, you know. But Joe's original cover, the first one, the A cover, that
Yeah.
also really blew. That's been my phone background
Yeah, that one's
for
underneath
months.
this one there. I got a few. I'm not. I'm a victim of the variant market, so
They're
it's
really beautiful ones. I just got on my Compson where they give me like one of each, and I think I'm gonna do like, you know, I'll make somehow maybe I'll bring the cons or style or something. But of course, I'm looking at all of them. I'm like, well, I have to keep some for me
I
because
know.
I'm like, I should keep one of each. And I'm like, oh, there's like 20 variants. I don't need to keep one of each. I just want to.
Now, how do you like the foil variants? Because we had a discussion a few weeks ago in our show about comic book gimmicks, and that one was kind of divisive. Like sometimes the foil works, but sometimes like just the regular foil.
I like partial foil better personally.
Okay.
I prefer like a spot foil. I really like the variants where it's like the one that's like the red design variant where the cross is the red foil.
Yeah.
Or I think it's the Juma Hill one. There's one where her monstrance is all gold foiled out and it looks like gilded. Those I really like. Um, and I love stuff like that where it's like a partial, like a spot gloss. I love that. I always prefer that to like the full thing. I like it a
Yeah.
design as a design element. Also, they're hard to sign.
I bet.
Um,
I
they're
can't
really
imagine.
slippery.
Yeah.
Mitch Garrett's taught me a trick where you like rub your finger on the oil first, and your finger oils make it like a little spot that you can sign better. So sometimes I'll do that. I feel a little gross rubbing my finger oil on someone's comic, but otherwise, like the ink doesn't stay on. Like so,
Well, let me bless your
I don't know.
comic
Yeah,
first, and then I'll sign it. Yeah.
yeah. Let me rub my DNA on it. I don't know. I prefer a spot foil or a spot gloss
Okay.
to an all in one. But
Well,
you know,
great. You settled our debate. Then I'll let the rest of the
yeah,
guys know because that one was the
yeah.
one we were very
The answer
divided
is
on.
spot gloss.
Yeah. Everything else was either very clear or not. But okay.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned New York Comic Con, so I want to talk about. I mean, it was big for a lot. I'm a DC Vertigo fan, so that was a
Yeah.
big stuff for me. But you had a really big announcement with this upcoming book. Comes out, Sirens Love Hurts, where we finally get the wedding of Green Arrow and Black Canary, plus a whole other like in the middle of that, a whole bunch of other shenanigans happening in Gotham.
Yeah. So Love Hurts basically was something that came originally from the mind of Jess Chen, who is a DC editor who is
Mhm.
now moved on to the gaming industry. When she was at DC, she had kind of loosely been like, "Hey, what if we do like a Gotham City Sirens, like Sex in the City book, where it's the girls like navigating like love and relationships, and we got Babs to draw it and Tini to write it, and everyone was like, great idea. And then she came and asked us and was like, so do you guys want to do it? We were like, of course we do. It's like Babs's dream book. It's like a dream book for me. I love Gotham City. I just come off of getting to write a lot of the Sirens
Mhm.
for like months and months and months in my
Yeah.
Catwoman and Harley runs, but writing it in a monthly is so different. It's just a different speed. It's a different set of muscles. You get a lot less opportunity to like plan and do setup and payoff and structure and all this stuff. So I was really happy to get the opportunity with Love Hurts because it's a Black Label book. So we had a lot of freedom. So I basically was like, okay, well, I want them. There needs to be like a plot to it, and I was really inspired. One of my favorite books is Long Halloween.
Okay. Cool.
And I also really loved like books like Tokyo Tarareba Girls, which is a manga that like often takes place over like time, like planning. Like they use things like planning a wedding as like a time marker. And I just really liked that. I liked the idea that what if the Sirens became friends with Dinah because of a serial killer in Gotham that they want to take down, and this also just happens to be the same year that Dinah is planning her wedding to Ollie. So we start in Gotham City there's been some stuff going on. So the Sirens are very tentatively reaching across the aisle to maybe work with Dinah, Black Canary, to bring some justice to the women of Gotham. And in this, they learn that she's recently gotten engaged, and they all have their own kind of romantic spots they're at. They each got their own arc over the 4 issues, the 4 seasons, the year of the book, of them finding love or dating and having a bad time and having to come around. I had fun with this book, really putting the girls in 4 different places in their lives, and um, seeing if I could realistically, get them where they wanted to be by the, like if I could coach them through it. And I'm so proud of it. Babs and I have been having the best time. It's really just been a dream project for us both to hang out and work on this book. And I'm just really, really proud of it. It's really fun. Like I don't want to say too much about it because
Yeah.
I think it'll really just speak for itself. But there's a really great new villain that we came up with for this. And I'm really excited for people to have a fun new Gotham villain. It's a woman. So
I mean, Gotham is full of weirdos, so I encourage the more the better, I think. Um,
yeah, and it feels like, I don't know, feels really, really cool to make up a new Gotham villain.
yeah, for sure. That's like leaving a stamp on your that's kind of what I love about the Black Label, that really gives like any kind of creative freedom to, like, if you have a good idea, let's just make the book. Don't worry about like, does it fit in continuity, or like can we squeeze it in?
Exactly.
I think that's
Exactly.
my favorite thing about that, which was another big thing that I love about Vertigo as well. So I like the DC
Yeah.
doing all that kind of stuff where like we can do both things, actually 3 things with the Absolute Universe. We can do all these things and just have all these really cool books out and kind of let everyone get in on the party, right? Wherever they want to land.
I think it's smart too, right? Like Absolute Batman and Batman are both selling like crazy, and I think it's because they're both really good books that are really different. Like
Yeah.
I'm a huge Matt Fraction fan. I love the Batman book with him and Jorge right now. Like it's so fun. I also love Scott and Nick stuff. Like I mean, I love like they're both great books, but they could not be more different in their approaches to the character, but they both feel super genuine. And I think it's smart that it's like you basically can have your Batman on day mode or night mode, right? Like you can have
Right.
blue Batman flying around TV covered Gotham with Robin, and they're making quips and they're hanging out with Killer Croc, and he's teaching Tim to drive. And that's a really great version of Batman that I love and that I grew up with, and I'm loving that book. And
Yeah.
then there's the Absolute Batman, which is this kind of dark philosophical take on, what if this character grew up differently and had different struggles, and in a time where that a lot of people are feeling kind of like beaten around by a broken system. People are really connecting with that book. I think it's super cool that DC is doing that, and that there can be these kind of takes, because it's like the thing I always tell people about continuity is I'm like, okay, think about mythology, think about all the stories you know about Zeus, like which came first, the one with the golden shower, the one with the swan, or the one with the bull? Which came first? You don't remember, and it doesn't matter. So I think we have these canon events, for lack of a better word, that we think of, and we're kind of in this like amazing postmodern time where
Yeah.
we can, or even postmodern or whatever, where we're able to say, okay, we know the beats of these characters so well that we can start playing with those beats, um, and trying to get the character concept to still be load bearing and identifiable without them. I mean, that's what the Absolute line is all about. And I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
I'm all for
I,
it. I prefer
I
that to strict continuity.
could not agree more with you. As somebody that's been reading for a little while now, I'm like, I just want to read good books. Like, let me worry about it, how it fits in my head. I'll do I'll jump through the hoops in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
now with
exactly.
that,
It'll justify.
yeah, that was a great segue, because I wanted to ask you what stuff are you reading? Like what comics are you, so outside of the Batman books, which everyone else is reading as well?
Yeah, they're really good
What do
right
you
now.
gravitate? Where do you gravitate towards nowadays?
Um, I was lucky enough in that a bunch of people I really like came out with a bunch of really good comics in the past couple months. So I got to like read a bunch of number ones I really, really liked.
Yeah.
So I'll shout out a couple recent books I really liked. The Author Immortal by Frank Barbieri and Morgan Beam is really good. Issue one is like an oversized, like 40 or 50 page issue, and I didn't realize that when I opened it. So I just like got because I got it. I opened a digital file of it. I was sent an early copy, but this is not like paid. I'm being genuine. I get sent a ton of comics, but this one I really loved. So I opened it. And I just felt like I got totally lost. It felt like it could have been like a Guillermo del Toro movie or something. Like it had that
Oh,
feeling of
yeah.
like just I don't know, like a modern gothic story about like a father and a daughter having kind of different but strange experiences in this old house they move into. So good, especially this time of year. It's perfectly like spooky. And Morgan Beam's art is incredible. She does like watercolor kind of art, and in this story just works so perfectly. So yeah, The Author Immortal. It's an Image book and it's oversized. Ignition Press has a couple really good books coming
Oh
out
my
right now.
goodness.
The two that I'm gonna shout out are Voyeur, yeah, right there by Leah Williams and David Baldeon. It's so good. It's something Leah's been working on for a long time. And if you're a big fan of like so people that love Leah's works often really love one, the really crazy batshit stuff she does,
Yeah.
like Exterminators and her Sirens books, which she is amazing and excels at. But a lot of people also really like her X Factor and her Mary Jane book, and she's good at like her Power Girl. She puts a lot of this like really good pathos in her books. And Voyeur is very not either of those, but
No,
like
it is not.
yeah, it's something totally new from her. It's like it reminds me of like a 90s erotic thriller. It's like
Yeah,
a
I
very weird personal book about two people learning about each other by watching each other, and
mhm.
you kind of change perspectives with them and learn about them um, through this kind of erotic voyeuristic relationship they have. And then there's also like an art heist crime thriller element, but it's really sexy. It's really
Yeah. I
good.
mean, David's art is something to behold. I keep waiting on that book. When I was reading it, I was like, kept waiting for like Michael Douglas or Sharon Stone to kind of like just walk through the
Yeah.
door. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly that
so
vibe.
yeah, those vibes are
Yeah.
amazing.
And then Roots of Madness by Stephanie Williams
Oh
and
yeah,
Letitia Cadenici, I think is her name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
I think so.
Incredible book. It is again great for this time of year. It is like true Lovecraftian horror, but like contends openly with like legacies of racism, and it's just a really fascinating book about Black women in the 19th century, 20, 19th century, yeah,
I think so. I think that sounds
uh,
right. Yes, yes,
early 20th century, yeah, engaging with cosmic horror and like true, and it's like it's great because it's like a really you know great basic like young girl finds out she has powers and goes to new place to study them story. So if you're a fan of like Wednesday and that, you might dig that, but it's so much more than that. It's
yeah.
so much. It's if you like Sinners, very very highest rec. Just such a cool book that just feels like it's contending with so much. It has like an Alan Moore vibe to it. Like it's just so good. My highest compliments to Roots of Madness. Such a good
It
book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ignition Press came out swinging with like all their books. Like I've read all the number ones that they put out, and it was like, oh, we can still have a new publisher just come out of the gates and kick a lot of ass, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Comic book reader. Um, I
Yeah.
love I love Marvel. I love DC, but like I also want more. I want more stuff.
And they announced at San Diego, and Ignition announced, we can't talk about any more than that, but that I am making a book there.
Oh,
So I am, yeah, I can't talk about it anymore yet. We haven't announced it or
oh,
anything, but I am a couple issues into a book there that I am partnered again with an artist I've worked with before that I love, and I'm so glad that I now get to work with this artist in like a creator-owned capacity, because we're doing such crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really fun book. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it more, but probably like next San Diego before I can talk about that.
All right, great. Well, for everybody watching this video, leave your guess on the artist in the comments. We'll see if we get it right next year.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be interesting. I bet you will. I bet you guys will. I don't know if people will remember that I worked with them, but I did a series with them. Where it wasn't just like, I'm not like, oh, I did one page with them. Like, I did a series with this person. So
now, okay. Uh, there's a lot of really good comics. I also there's so many things that I want to talk to you about, but I would be remiss if we did not talk a little bit about your X-Men time.
sure.
I love all the fantasy stuff that we got to explore with Betty, pretty much like just going everything through her lens and Excalibur and all that. Like it was just it felt like an unexplored part of the X-Men universe for a long, long time. So when all that stuff was announced in the Age of Krakoa, I was very excited because I love fantasy, I love the X-Men, and I love them when they're both in the same book together. So,
Yeah. I mean, that really came from my initial thing. I mentioned this before, that the character that I was the first, like, most intrigued about talking about when, I signed up to, I liked the idea of Krakoa. I signed up to work on this in this room with Jonathan, and we were kind of given some time to like digest and reread a bunch of old X-Men comics
mhm,
and think about what was important to us and what we wanted to bring to the room and what we wanted to pitch. And I ended up bringing in not a complete pitch, but kind of like a theory essay type thing, where I was like, okay, I sat around and listened to a bunch of Alan Moore talks and watched a bunch of like anthropology documentaries and read a bunch of anthropological stuff and thought about the X-Men. Because the whole thing to me that was interesting was the idea that people who had been hated and feared and never had a home now had one, where they could not only survive, they could thrive. They were like instantly thriving. Things were going better for them than they ever had. And I
yeah,
was like, well, what would Apocalypse want in that? Because he's always wanted this superiority from mutants. And what if he got it without the destruction of all mankind? What if he got it without, we didn't need to kill the humans, we just needed to subjugate them. Done. Or rather, to not need them.
yeah, yeah,
Um, in Apocalypse's mind, I think, in like a lot of the mutants that are like villains' mind, there's this idea of like, we could rise up and crush you, but we don't, to be nice, because we were invited back to Krakoa to be
to be
good and
nice.
not, to behave. We were invited here to behave. Um, so I was really enticed by that idea of like, what do you get for the boy that has everything? What would Apocalypse then want? What would he be craving? And anthropologically, to me, it seemed interesting, the idea that like, and this also came from like Alan Moore stuff I had listened to, is the idea that like a magic and higher thinking and these kind of things can only really develop in cultures that are allowed to like spend enough time together to figure out what's important to them, kind of morally or whatever, like what links them all, and things like the three laws of Krakoa, kind of interacted with that. So ultimately I was like, well, I want to do this thing about um magic, about mutant magic, about Apocalypse being like, well, now that we have this place to rest, we can develop higher powers, and things like the mutant circuit and stuff came out of that. But also what came out of that was like, well, what else in mutantdom has dealt with magic in the past? And a big thing was Excalibur
Mhm.
and Otherworld, and Excalibur being a mutant book that in the past been led by a human character in Captain Britain. And then it was kind of like, oh, because we all kind of knew walking into the room that one of the things we had to contend with was the fact that Betsy Braddock had separated bodies with Conan, and that
Yep.
Conan was now Psylocke. So what's to be done with Betsy Braddock? And when we started talking about this, we were like, oh, and that's the solution to why Excalibur is back and it's a mutant book again, is because Captain Britain is now a mutant, which was already kind of done for me, back in New Avengers 30 when Jonathan killed the rest of the Captain Britain Corps. So it's
Yeah,
like, well, now we have Betsy doing it because we find out later she can be a core again, and Brian cannot anymore because the core of Brian's has been destroyed. So yeah, it all kind of came together the way that all really good ideas do, I think, which is with a lot of time and just like time, just tossing it over and over again with the same people, back and forth, and kind of figuring out where we go. But from there, Excalibur just became, the fusion of the old mutant Excalibur team led by Captain Britain, with this modern idea of mutant magic, and also the idea that they with this book we could have spend enough time with them that we could see the rest of Otherworld that we
Yes.
hadn't
Yeah.
seen before.
Well, that I mean, and I think at that time too, Game of Thrones had just been like a really big thing that just in the media everywhere, right? So the idea that, oh, there's also all these other characters fighting for power and they have their own roles, and then there's this whole other world that it's completely different where stuff needs like somebody needs to look after that because there are also mutants over there. Like
Mm-hmm.
just all those ideas of this other kingdom. And then I'm a big sucker for just power struggle like that, and those ideas. So that was really when you get to see all of Betsy's family and everyone that's been involved in anything with Otherworld or the Captain Britain mantle, like they're all kind of crazy characters that like I don't really understand how they are not more popular because they're so chaotic.
Yeah, and I think like that was kind of how the whole the idea of like the X gene as like a Fae gene came in to me, where it was like I've always loved the idea of like changelings, or the idea that like fairies are like a blip in reality or something like that. And was and I always loved things like how characters like Megan were like, oh, they're Braddock's as well. It's like, well, they're part Fae, but they also have an X gene. And I was like, what if that's the same thing when you go to Otherworld? Like that's just how
Yeah.
that reads. And it's read as like, danger or power, depending on if you're like a little innocent baby and you become a massive nuclear fire spitting dragon.
Oh, Drogo,
And
yeah,
it also, I felt like, yeah, and I also feel like it explains so much about things like Jamie,
mhm.
Braddock, and so much of the the strangeness of the characters there is like, well, because it's just a different flavor of X gene, it's just the X gene through that lens, I think. And then we also had a lot of fun playing with when we came up with the idea that being revived if you die in Otherworld, um, you get like a weird spectral unexpected version of yourself back,
Yeah.
rather than kind of like a strange random kaleidoscoped version of yourself, and not the version of yourself you were when you died. That added a fun wrinkle to Resurrection
Mhm,
that made books like Knights of X actually feel perilous, because it was
mhm.
like, well, they're all trapped here, and if they die here, they're dead.
It reminded me a lot of the Siege Perilous, where like once you go through it, you don't know what is gonna come out the other side. It was
That
very
was,
similar
yeah,
idea. Yeah, so
very much the same, yeah, inspiration and the
uh,
same vibe,
as
totally.
an old school X-Men fan, I was like, oh, I appreciate that all these ideas can be brought in through a different lens, and they're still very very cool. So I
Thank
really
you. Yeah.
love the I mean the Age of Krakoa has probably been some of my favorite stuff and the X-Men. That the what is it? Swords, the Swords event, X of Swords
Yeah.
event. It blew my mind because it was nothing like what I expected. I expected like DC right now is doing their DCKO Brawl Out
Hmm.
Fest, and that's what I when it was announced, I was like, oh, maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking. And instead, it was like this, just like these games, and it was just so subversive. When I was like, my expectations were complete turned upside down, um, which was a lot of fun because I was like I said, it's always more fun when you read something and you don't expect it. As much as I enjoy heroes punching each other, this was
No,
something
I'm
else
this.
completely different.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and it's like it's a comic, right? And we have to realize our limitations, which is like pretty quickly. I think we were all like, okay, but who wants to write 10 sword duels in a row? And who wants to read 10 sword duels in a row? Like, not
Yeah.
I. Like, that doesn't sound like the most fun to me. So it was pretty. Then we were just like, let's brainstorm like every kind of challenge we could. Every kind of thing they could be asked to do that would be unexpected, which is really funny. I feel like we like predicted Game Changer.
It
It
does
was
have
like
that vibe of like what I mean. People love
like
that kind of
Doug's
stuff. Like Taskmaster is a really big thing that I love
right,
watching.
yeah. Like I
And it
feel
just
like, oh
kind of
my god, that whole event was just the X-Men playing Taskmaster.
it really was.
It's
Uh,
like in this episode of Game Changer, Doug gets married. Like,
that was great because I love Doug, Cipher for life. So like just seeing the fact that maybe he can have a happy life. It's really nice. So
I know
uh,
he deserves a big wife.
yeah, but now he went into a tree and now he's Apocalypse himself. So
Yeah,
the things change all the time. Um,
yeah,
but I can always go back to Krakoa whenever I need to see a more happy Doug and more. His powers are so cool and so like I'm not creative enough to think of like how, but everyone that worked with Doug at that time was like, oh, maybe he can also do this, and this is kind of the way like he can communicate with everything. So it's a very
yeah.
very good
It's
to see his power set expand.
That's one of the fun things I think about being a writer, at least to me, is like a higher, you know, louder, stronger is not always the answer.
Mhm.
And I have fun coming up with challenges for characters that are not the obvious ones. I like challenging them internally. And yeah, it's a comic, so you have to like, set something on fire and put some
Yeah,
people in
you
tights, punching
yeah
about it. But like, the challenge I think is bigger than should I punch this person harder or not.
yeah, for sure. Um, all right. I could talk about the X-Men all night, but I do have other things that I want to chat about. Now, over the weekend, you just had a birthday, and you were giving advice on Instagram. People were asking
I
questions,
was.
which is great. I think a lot of people never like, especially people that want to get into comics, they never know where to go for any of that. Like any reason, like you can look online, but it's really not the same as getting like feedback from a creator like yourself. Was there any kind of piece of advice that you gave out that kind of stood out, or like something that you were not expecting to be asked about, like getting into comics or working in comics, um, or any maybe on any of those questions that were left unanswered that we can address here?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is I get a lot of questions that are some variety of like, I have ideas, but I don't know how to get them out of my head and I don't know who to share them with. And I'm like, okay, step one and two are get them out of your head and share them with people.
Yeah.
And I know you don't know how to do, and it's like I can give you suggestions of places I went and stuff, but like you're probably not going to make the same kind of things I did.
Mhm.
You might not be the same vibe as I am. You might not get along with the same people I did. You might not be making the same kind of comics as them. So like the advice I give people is I'm like, make it again, keep making things until you make things you like. If you have something, sometimes you will make something and love it and you'll be holding it for 6 months, showing it to everyone how much you love it. And then one day, 6 months later, you're like, I don't love this anymore. And I don't want to show this to people anymore. And maybe that's why you make something new and you start showing people that instead. And maybe that's what they like. Like you can't know. So make, get your ideas out in a way that involves the work that is needed to make them really meaningful. And I say that because I'm like, if you write a first draft and it's not perfect and you give up, that's not really getting it out of your system. If you're putting it into ChatGPT to do it for you, getting it out of your system.
Yeah.
You need to act like it's clay, like it's rough material, and the first step is just putting it onto the page so you have enough clay to start punching. Like you sometimes you just need to write 10 pages to start punching them to figure out one. I mean, I've written hundreds of thousands of words that I have deleted because they just got me to where I needed to be. Like, and I'm like, oh, this is the real beginning of the story, you know? Um, it happens. It happens. It's part of why, the people that are successful artists aren't the people that have to force themselves to do it. It's the people who do it when they're just left to their own devices, because you got to do a lot of it. I default to a lot of thinking about ideas and daydreaming and planning and that kind of thing. So for me, this is just what I do. But I do remember being too scared to get it out of my head. And I guess the biggest thing is, like, you don't need permission. Like, you should literally, here's what I would do if I'd never made a comic before and I wanted to start making comics. I would probably go on YouTube and I would look up, like, people making comics and talking about making comics. And I would watch them and get ideas. And then maybe I would find like a Discord or a Facebook group or whatever where people are doing that. Maybe I would look around in my area. I would look if there are like small press events, or if there's like a lot of local comic shops still have like a local maker shelf.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
you make a zine and you print it, and you can go to your local comic shop and be like, can I put this on your shelf and just sell them for $5 a head or whatever? And they're usually like, that's fine. Like, like a lot of comic shops have shelves. It's specifically for local people that work on the shelf. And I check them out when I'm in shops. I always like to see, like, hey, who's around here? Go to cons, set up, or don't set up. Bring your stuff around and talk to people. And then when you talk to someone, I have people come to me all the time and they're like, I really like your comic. Can I give you a copy of mine? And I'm always like, yes. I never say no to that. And I usually, give it a read and I give them feedback. And sometimes I become friends with the person because I like their work so much. So, yeah, just make it. Don't wait for permission. No one's going to give you permission because they would rather, like, every day you don't do the thing you want to do, someone else is doing it.
yep, yep.
So if you ever find like, oh, why is no one giving me permission? It's like, maybe because they want that spot that you're going to take if you're that. But if you stop waiting for permission and just move on it, then that could be your spot.
Yeah, very, very well said. So there you have it. If you're trying to get into comic books, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it and reach out to your community. That's a big, valuable resource. Okay, we. I don't want to run out of time, but I do want to ask: is there anything outside of comics that you're reading, watching? There's a lot of really cool stuff.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to go watch Frankenstein on Thursday because it's finally gonna show up in my area. I don't know if you've
I
seen it
saw it on my
already.
birthday. I did. I
Oh,
did. I saw it
okay.
on my birthday. I won't give any spoilers. I thought it was really marvelous. I have some real questions about some choices made at the end.
Okay.
But other than the last like 15 minutes, I felt like it was perfect. And the last 15 minutes weren't bad. I get really into theme, and I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
some
yeah.
aspects of the theme were not addressed. But marvelous film. One of the best things I've seen all year. I cannot wait. I'm literally going to re-up my Netflix for the month just so I can watch
Watch it again.
the new Bake Off and Frankenstein again when it comes out. I'm like waiting.
Oh,
But as far as what anything else I've read and watched lately that I really liked, I write down I don't have Letterbox. I just write down all the movies I
I
watch
was gonna
to fill
ask
up my
about that.
list.
So great. I'm glad it's been addressed. Uh,
Yeah, I don't have Letterbox. I just write it down like an old person. Let's see. I watched the original Wicker Man last night for the first time,
oh,
uh, and I loved it with Christopher Lee, the
mhm.
1973 one. Marvelous. I had never seen it, and I really loved that. Bring Her Back is a movie from this year
Yeah.
that is absolutely incredible. That I saved for Halloween to watch, and I'm really glad I did. Blew me away. Talk to Me was one of the best movies I thought of last year. So the fact that a year later they came back
Mhm.
with this one, which I think was maybe even better than Talk to Me, um,
Oh, that's good to
I was
hear
really
'cause
impressed by that.
it just hit HBO, so I'm definitely gonna add that to my queue for this week. Great.
It's fantastic. I really, really recommend it. The Devils is on the Criterion Collection right now. It is a Ken Russell nunsploitation film from 1980, I think. My only lament is that I believe the version on the Criterion channel is a very edited version because the movie was banned in the UK for years. It is a crazy nunsploitation film with Vanessa Redgrave and Oliver Reed, and I love it. But I guess watch the version that's on the Criterion Collection. I imagine it's not bad. I had to find like a very secret pirated file that someone lent me of the actual one when I watched
Yeah.
it, but I really, really recommend it. Also, Sinners and Friendship, both great movies with kind of how Sinner was much more than Friendship, but even Friendship has kind of Halloweeny creepy vibes.
It really does, and man, I can only take so much of oh, what's his name at a
Tim
time.
Robinson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's definitely an acquired taste, and I was like, I'm glad I watched this just to confirm that it's not my jam, but I appreciate people who do because I can see the vibes were there.
Yeah, and non comics things I'm reading. I just read Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Really terrifying read in 2025 LA, but a really good book. Demon Copperhead, the Barbara Kingsolver book. I read that this year, and it was fine. Bunny by Mona Awad, a really fun, weird little read that's kind of like I don't know, kind of like Heather's, but it's got some
Oh,
twistedness to it. Yeah, if you like Heather's and stuff like that, I think you'd like
okay.
Bunny.
Not where I thought that was going, but good, good. Uh,
Yeah. And I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman is a really weird French kind of sci-fi novella written by a woman in the 90s, I think, that just kind of got popular on like, I don't know, weird girl book social media. Like a lot of the like literally a lot of the books I read because I Google like I'll go on like Reddit and I'll search like
yeah.
I liked these weird girl novels. What other weird girl novel? Like I've read every Otessa Moshfegh novel. What should I read now? So like Bunny was a recommendation for that. So was I Who Have Never Known Men. So if you want some like Earthlings by Sayaka Murata, which I give like every possible trigger warning to. If you are
Okay.
someone that needs
Yeah.
content warnings, please look into that one before you read it. But it's another very strange. I've been reading a lot of weird female horror this year. So
Okay.
yeah, Earthlings, Bunny, I Who Have Never Known Men. That's some weird horror I can wreck you I've read this year.
Can I say I love your little journal of the stuff that I wish I kept something like that, especially for the
There's
show because
Marian
at
on
the end
it.
of the year, yeah, at the end of the year, I'm just like, what did I read? What did I watch? Like, I try to log it in as many places as I can, but the journal is the move, I think.
This is a huge recommendation of mine too. I do one every. This is last year's.
Oh,
I am a physical planner person. I write it. I actually like this is if you've ever read Fun Home, Alison Bechdel's
yes,
Fun Home,
yes,
in
I
it
did.
she talks about how she was never like a diary kid, but someone gave her a day planner, and so she started writing about her days in her day planner, and it made her into a journaler. It's exactly what happened with me. I read that book, and I kind of started doing it in like 2017 or whatever. So I have, and it's like I have a shelf that I can look at and be like, these are years of my life, and there are like if someone takes a Polaroid of me, I stick it in here. I wait here. I'll show you something. These were the mini golf scores from when I went to play mini golf on my birthday with my
That's so
friends.
cool.
Like, like I keep all that stuff and I write about my days in a day planner, and it also helps me like remember what I have to do for work and everything. But I highly recommend it if you're someone that's like, I'm not really a letterboxed person, and you just want like it feels really good to look at a list and be like, oh my god, I read like 60 books this year. Like
Yeah, yeah. Like, what did I do all the year? Oh, I have like a physical copy of what I did this year, which is so cool.
right. When someone asks me like, "What'd you read?" I'm like, "Oh, I can tell you what I've read that's good." If somebody asks me like, "What have you read that's good?" What are the best 10 books you read over the past 5 years? I have lists. I could do that. Maybe I should do that for my Substack.
All right. To close out here, this wonderful conversation, by the way, I want to ask,
Thank you. I had a great time.
yeah, how excited are you about Lestat going on tour next year?
Oh my god, extremely. Here, wait. Let's ask my porcelain Claudia doll who sits beside my desk. She literally sits on my Anne Rice collection. I have stacks and stacks of her books. I have a signed book of hers that was given to me by a very kind man in New Orleans. Um, no, I am so excited. I This show is like my dream show. I've loved these books since I was a little girl,
Mhm.
and I remember like reading like fan forums and magazines when they were making Queen of the Damned and being like, this is gonna be good. And then I saw the guy that cast as Lestat and I was like, he doesn't seem like Lestat. And like my heart being broken by the existence of the Queen of the Damned movie, which has a great soundtrack, and Aaliyah is beautiful, but that movie has no other merits.
Amazing.
And so now the fact that there's an adaptation that's really good and it has great actors and great music, and it even like elevates the source material and makes it more explicit about things like the queerness, but also just fun and violent and sexy and tongue-in-cheek and mean-spirited and fun, and everyone in it is just, it's just killer performances. The writers room seems so cool. I feel so lucky. It feels like it's like legitimately the best show on TV, and
It
it's
is.
like an adaptation of my favorite books ever. I can't believe it.
Uh, this is mainly a comic books channel, and I do a little movies and stuff. But for some reason, when I talk about Interview with a Vampire, anything, like a lot of people, and there's such a cool fandom. They're so welcoming because I've mentioned multiple times I only seen the show. I mean, I watched the movie from the '90s, but I've only seen the show. I haven't read the books. It's on my list of things to do. But everyone, like, I do trailer reactions to the all the videos they put out, and just people just come watch all that stuff, and it feels really nice to have some other part of the community just be like, yeah, enjoy stuff with us. We're cool. We don't bite unless you ask, right? Like,
Well, yeah, I remember when the first season came out. I think AMC just, it's so hard to get attention for anything nowadays, right?
yeah,
Because there's always so much going on. But I think they really, the fandom, it felt like were really a lot of the advertising for the first season. It felt like the fandom were everywhere being like, oh my god, you guys should watch the show. And now it feels like the show has put a lot more into like advertising and stuff, and it's like, well, it feels probably because they knew they had such a passionate fandom who were able to really respond to it. And now I can't even keep up with all the stuff they do. I've kind of like put myself on like a soft blackout of it, because I'm like,
yep.
I want to be surprised when the new season comes out. So I'm like, I can't do like all the little stuff they've been posting
The
on
short
social media
clips
as
and all that.
teasers,
Yeah,
and
no, I
like I
understand.
didn't watch a lot of the interviews from New York, because I was just like, I just want to go in
Well,
fresh.
and you read the book, so you kind of know what's coming, but it's still a nice surprise to see how
But
they bring it to life.
yeah, I've read the books a lot, and there are some scenes in the books that I'm like, I can't believe no one's ever adapted, because they just seem so perfect for adaptation. Like, I just think it's going to be really, really great to see how they do it. So I'm super, super excited for more Interview with the Vampire, and I really recommend. I don't know if you're a library guy, but there's some really good audiobooks of the Vampire
Yep.
Chronicles. So if you're an
I love a
audiobook
library.
person, or
I love a
you
hoopla.
know,
So
me
yeah,
too. If you're listening right now and you're like, oh, I have to paint my Halloween costume, what am I going to do for the 6 hours while paint dries? You should listen to Interview with the Vampire on audiobook. You can get it at the library, and
I might
then The
start
Vampire Lestat, and then Queen of the Damned.
after I finish The Running Man because I'm trying to get through that before the movie. Um, well, this has been
Nice.
amazing. Thank you very much, Tini. I'm gonna hit you up when the next season comes out, and maybe it'll kind of because it might coincide with
Do.
the release of your new book as well. So I never know. If
Oh
we
my
could
god, I would
just
love to just come on and talk about the episode or something. That would be really fun. I would love to do that.
excellent, excellent. Well, can you want to tell people where they can find you, and if anything else that you might want to plug?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Substack. I'm Tini Howard on both. On Instagram, I post pictures and stuff. On Substack, I post writing, and there's some paywall stuff there if you want to support me monetarily or read some of my essays or fiction, or stuff about being a comic writer. There's some stuff behind the paywall there. And then Marian Heretic is coming out now. Go read it if you like it. Add it to your pull list. Indie series like this, we're small. We live or die on knowing that there's interest. So check it out and tell your friends. If you've already checked out and you loved it, tell someone. I would love you to tell someone. Thank you.
Just hand it to someone else unexpectedly. It is the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah. I
time.
handed If anyone comes to your front door to get candy, just stick a Marian Heretic in their trick or treat bag.
I'm gonna need to ask for IDs first. Sorry, kids, you're too young, but here, give this to your older sibling. Uh,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This was great. If you're watching this and you have any questions for Tini, leave them in the comments. I'll send them over. And thank you for watching. We will have a lot more stuff, a lot more coverage. We'll keep talking about Marian Heretic because we love the book. And then, of
Thank
course,
you.
next year we'll definitely talk about Love Hurts because we love a good book from DC Comics as well. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for having me.